And hello, movie lovers, and welcome to today's podcast. Today's episode, we're actually going to be doing a review for The Wrong Turn. This is the 2021 version of the reboot for The Wrong Turn. The very first one came out in 2003. And with me, I have Cisco with me. Say hello to everybody.
How's it going?
And, I invited him back again because we had such a good time reviewing Freaky. And of course, we're both horror fans and stuff like that. So I thought, what better way to go ahead and review The Wrong Turn horror film than to have Cisco back again with us. So, with further ado, I have to say, I actually enjoyed this a lot more than what I thought I did. Or would, because I was like, Wrong Turn reboot, straight to DVD and Blu-ray and stuff like that. You've seen them once, you've seen them all. But with this one, I was actually really surprised by how they have Jennifer's character, who was once a weak character, and then she winds up being a really strong character later on within the film. I really like that whole entire setup. At the very beginning, you actually have her father looking for her and her friends because they're actually camping during this whole entire thing where they actually get abducted by these cannibals. And I have to say, I love the setup for it. Then, of course, it takes place 6 weeks beforehand. So, with that being said, what did you think of the setup as far as the very beginning goes?
I it was a little bit rocky for me. I'm not gonna lie though, but like you, I thought like I had no expectations for this at all whatsoever. Like I didn't like the sequels. I do like the first Wrong Turn, but they lost me pretty quickly in that franchise. So I really was not looking forward to this one, if I'm being honest with you. I saw it purely just out of interest of it's a remake. Maybe they'll do something different with it. So that's why I checked it out. But yeah, the beginning, it was a little rough. Like I like that the cast is more diverse.
Right.
Even though like there's like a bunch of women in the original, which I like, and it has like Elijah Dushku or whatever, and
Elijah Dushku,
Dushku, and can't remember the other chick's name in there too. But yeah, I really do like I feel like they're strong characters as well in the original.
Right.
But yeah, I like how it was more diverse. You have like a gay couple, a biracial couple, and so I like that. I was like, okay, we're already getting like the more woke version in this one. The dialogue was kind of corny though, and so like at the beginning, and but I think they were smart and kind of like making fun of that. You know what I mean? Like it was kind of self-aware that this is how college age kids talk, and are always on their phones. And so like when the scene that sticks out to me is when they go into that bar. And it's like one of my favorite things in horror. I guess my favorite example is American Werewolf in London, when it's just two touristy guys that don't know the town, like they're clearly tourists, and they go into this bar and everyone is just staring at them, and it's like super uncomfortable,
right?
And you kind of get this like it's a social anxiety, which is horror. That is horror, and like I feel like everyone can relate with like the pandemic this past year. I mean, like walking into a store was like just horrifying with like, looking around at people and trying to put your mask on. So yeah, I thought they captured that really well. And then like they have this confrontation with this like older guy, and he calls them out on their bullshit about like, you guys haven't held down a real job. And one of the guys is like being kind of a dick, like, you know what I mean? It wasn't usually in the horror movies, you got the old creeper guy that's like, you won't make it out alive, like, and
kind of like the old man from the Friday the 13th franchise.
That's the one I go to. Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of too. But yeah, again, I think they're self-aware in that even that guy kind of has like an arc in this one that you don't expect. So that was cool. And like he calls them on their bullshit. Like I think rightly so, because they kind of were, making fun of him, like calling him like a hillbilly or whatever, and just assuming all this stuff about him. And it kind of turns back around on them. And I tried watching the original before this chat. I watched like the beginning. I didn't have time to finish it, but
I was gonna say, did it seem like it was outdated compared to?
It was holding up pretty well. I'm not gonna lie, it was holding up pretty well so far. But I just wanted to bring up that there's an old guy that basically same function in this, like as in the like where the guy asks him for directions and he's kind of got no teeth and he's like, the phone's not working and he's like, can I use this road? Can I go down this road? And he's like, it's just dirt. And he's just not helpful at all, basically. And the guy kind of just leaves off. And then when he leaves, the old man's like, kind of says something under his breath, like, you're the one that's going to need help after this or something. Like, right. So it's the old guy that warns of danger trope. Right. Which I forgot that was even in the original. And so, bringing it back in the reboot was like a good callback to the original, and in horror movies in general, that's just like super common. Super common.
That's true. That's very true. And not only that, but I have to say, I love the opening scene, though, too. You don't see the main characters or anything like that until the father brings up the fact that his daughter's been missing for 6 weeks. And then
Matthew Modine.
Right.
Matthew Modine, which I was very, like you don't really see him in movies anymore, but definitely like seeing him. I think the last time I even seen or heard of him, he was promoting the Full Metal Jacket 4K release last year for the anniversary. And so but I haven't seen him acting in a while, so for him to come in this movie, I'm like, there has to be something that he liked in this that he saw in the script, and like I can see why, having seen it, because I generally like this movie. I was very like impressed with just the twists and turns they managed to put in here. It's not just the same old, like I had knew ahead of time. I don't know how like spoilery you want to get into this.
We'll get spoiler with it. I mean,
because I don't know how many people have seen it. That's the only thing I'd be like worried about. I don't want to ruin it for people, but so kind of minor spoilers just right here. But like I had known ahead of time, someone had warned me, like, don't expect the same sequel, like the same things that are in the sequels, like hillbilly rednecks that are killing people. It's not that. So
that's what I was expecting, to be honest with you, because I didn't know what I was expecting. So I'm glad I actually didn't know what I was expecting.
Okay.
Because I was like, okay, this is probably going to be hillbilly cannibals, like the very first one. I went into it with that kind of expectation, and I have to say, I love the fact that they didn't do a rehash of what they did with the very first one, and they made something of their own, which is something I can actually appreciate. Also, too, you're wondering too, whenever Jeffrey's inside the bar, like, what kind of kids were these kids that were going on this camping trip? What were their experience like? What was their personalities like? Mm-hmm. Then you realize that one of the guys is really dickish, like you mentioned. They're out of this strange town. You can tell that they're straight up tourists that don't belong in this bar scene or anything like that either, and they're making cracks about hillbillies, rednecks, stuff like that. They're a fish out of water. They don't know what to expect with this town or anything like that, and they're just making wise cracks about them. And I also like the fact that this country guy, just comes out of nowhere and calls them out on their own BS and everything. And like, okay, you know what, kids, if you want to go on ahead and risk your lives out there, go ahead. I don't care anymore. You guys are all assholes to me, is basically what he's saying. But normally it's the old man that warns them about not going off the path, but instead it's actually the hotel owner that they're staying in.
Right.
Which I find really different, which is something I can appreciate, instead of doing like the whole homage to all the other horror films that we've gotten, like Friday the 13th, where the old man is warning them, you kids do not go down to Camp Crystal Lake. And instead, I got something completely different, which is something I'm totally okay with.
But she starts off kind of being like creepy with the town too. Like the whole town vibe was off. Kind of like I like in the It movies too. That's like one of the things I like that they explore, which is in the book, is the whole town. Like it is a separate entity, evil entity in himself, but it's kind of infected the town to where they kind of subconsciously know that Pennywise exists, but they just ignore it.
Right.
So like whenever they're in the horror movies, when like it's just a town and they have like this folklore and something's going on, I kind of got that vibe from the early scenes, especially, that they knew something was going on. And like, yeah, just as far as a remake goes, like, this is, I think the reason it's successful as a remake is because it's not shot for shot remake, which I never understand the purpose of. I wish Disney would stop doing live action remakes of my childhood movies. I don't understand the point of, making live action animals talk. Yeah, don't get it. But ideally, a good remake should be, you take the spirit of the original, you take like the core concepts, and you update it into something new, into today's world. And so I think they did that. I mean, the only thing you really need in a wrong turn movie is in the title. They take a wrong turn and they're in the woods, and some crazy shit happens. And yeah, like I said, that's all you need. They followed that premise. And I think, yeah, like, it was very surprising the direction they took with it, but I was on board with it. Like, once you kind of find out what it is, I was like, hey, I was happy with it. And even when you kind of know where it's going, I still think they managed to pull out some surprises. That I watched it with my roommate, so we were going crazy the whole time. Like, a lot of visceral reactions. I loved the gore factor. I thought was like, it was really gory. Kind of like the first couple of deaths, when you don't know what's going on, it ramps up pretty fast.
It does. Once they start getting into the traps and everything, it doesn't stop slowing down. Once they start, especially the camping scene where they don't realize that they're even on the campground of some type of war type thing that they had going way before the right before the Civil War, if you think about it. So I definitely love that, how they didn't know that they were camping out on that graveyard, and then their phones are missing. They don't have a way of calling or anything like that. GPS is down. And then, you know what? Jen is like MacGyver pretty much. Her father taught her survival tricks, which is no surprise because her father's from Full Metal Jacket. So you actually have to. But, I thought she was going to pull out a map or something. And instead, it's just a landmark. I'm like, well, something for that. But the gore part for me, the goriest thing was whenever it first gets started, where you have that log falling down the hill, and then it crushes the other guy's partner. And I really have to say that and also too, I have to give props to the sound people who made the sound effects for it, because I was hurting all the way from them tumbling. I'm like,
oh, I know. Yeah, I was like wondering what you're saying, but yeah, I was impressed by that too, because you can just those are actual stunt people that have to fall like that when they do scenes like that. So I'm always impressed when they can do that, like falling down the hill convincingly. And it looked like it hurt. It looked like you were falling down a mountainside for sure. It was pretty, it was brutal.
Hold on, we got it. Hey Rossi, how you doing? She's gonna be on the show for tomorrow night, reviewing White Boy Rick. So
okay, yeah, I know you were saying that last week. Yeah, I remember that.
So yeah, I have to say I thought the stunts really worked with that. Also too, like I said, the part that really got me was whenever the log falls down the hill and it crushes the partner. I was like, ooh, I wonder what this is actually going to look like. And then when they show it, the guy is all crushed up. His face is
it's a hard R. And like, again, for remakes, they should always be in the spirit of the original. The original is hard R, and very gory. So very happy that they kept that with it. Or, if you are going to do an updated version of a horror story, I feel like going up is acceptable. Going down is less excites me less. You know what I mean? Like going from PG-13 to R, because at least you could add in some gore and other elements like that. But if you're going down to PG-13 and the original's R, I already know it's going to be like watered down. You know what I mean? Like It's not going to be. Which I think they did with a lot of the Japanese when they were, remaking all the Japanese films for American audiences. I'm pretty sure all the originals in Japan were like rated R, and then we made them PG-13. So,
right.
And if you watch those originals, those are way more brutal than the American ones we have here. So, yeah, that's just like a personal preference, though. But what do you think about that? Do you?
To be honest with you, yeah, I do notice that how watered down it is whenever it's PG-13 versus rated R. To me, I'd rather it be rated R for a reason, not for the sake of it being rated R. If it fits in with the continuity of the story, if it actually fits in with what they're trying to create, I'm all for it. But if you're just trying to save some audiences from seeing it to PG-13 and it's just not motivating the plot and it's just watered down, everything, I'm not for it. Because I'd rather it be rated R for a reason. I want it to motivate the plot. I want the gore to motivate the plot, not just for the sake of having gore or anything like that, too, which I felt like the gore and everything itself for Freaky motivated the plot. It knew what it was. Same thing with Wrong Turn. I felt like it was the same thing. It knew what it was. So therefore, the gore actually motivated the plot. It was not just there just to be there to glorify gore. So that's something I can appreciate from the directors and writers of this movie as well. And, PG-13 for me, I saw some good PG-13 movies that are really good and then some that are not so good. But I'm like, why did you make this PG-13? It has so much potential to be rated R, and you could do so much more with it. Yeah. But I think they're also afraid to limit their audience, though, too. But at the same time, I've seen people bring their 10-year-old kids to see Deadpool. So, really, if they're going to go out and see it, they're going to go out and see it no matter what. So,
yeah. Okay. Yeah. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that because I always think that's like interesting when you're talking about remakes and horror in general. I also wanted to bring up too. I think how does it sound if we do like 10 more minutes of just general thoughts and then we get into spoilers? You okay with that?
We can do that.
So at least we'll give people a warning that we're not getting into any massive spoilers for like the next 10 minutes, and then after that, if you haven't seen it, turn it off. Okay,
we won't give the ending away. We'll just give you glimpses of who those characters are, what they're like, the tones of the characters, things like that. But my initial thoughts is this. I mean, the gore factor worked for me. The kills worked for me. And stuff like that. I thought the payoff was really good when they're trying to do it.
Yes.
The thing that got me was whenever one of the kids fell down, is actually chasing after the girl. His foot gets tangled up in the chain, and he's being dragged away. And the next thing you know, he's in a hole.
Right.
And they don't know where he's at or anything like that. And they're like, well, maybe this is a landfill or whatever. Maybe minefield. Maybe we can actually look and see where it leads to. I'm like, you guys are lost in the woods with no map, no GPS, nothing, and you guys are going to try and find out where it leads to. You're going to get lost even more and fall into more traps than what you guys are going to be going in. But I definitely have to say, I love that stunt right there.
Right. Yeah. The falling down stunt, like you said earlier, I thought was cool. Pretty much all the gore was like very effective. Well, I'll get into it. I'll get into it more. Thank you. But yeah, I'll get into it more when we talk about spoilers because there's some really brutal ones that I remember. But yeah, generally, like I did enjoy the film for the most part. I would recommend renting it if you're not very confident about it. I've been looking for it, like to buy it. I just haven't seen it anywhere, unfortunately.
On eBay is on sale for like $18 on eBay.
Okay. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just like a trend I've seen, like in stores stop carrying physical media. Like even when it was like first released though, I'm like, it's new. It just came out. They have to have it. And it's like, they don't carry it. So, which sucks.
That's crazy though.
I'm a collector. And so I used to look forward to that on every week doing that. But I also wanted to point out too, another thing that drew me to it. And if you're worried about watching this still, even though we're both recommending it to you guys, the original writer of the first one came back and wrote this one, Alan B. McElroy. And so, like, when I saw that in the trailer, I was like, okay, at least they have the original guy. He's most likely not going to try and butcher his baby in the original one. And yeah, just looking over like his IMDb, he has an insane like IMDb credit. Like, I'll just read you some of the credits that I thought were pretty like crazy because this guy's all over the board. So he started off. He did Halloween 4: The Return of Michael Myers, which I think is okay. It's not like one of the best ones, but it's not one of the worst ones by far.
No.
It's somewhere in the middle for me as far as like the franchise goes. And then he did Spawn, the Spawn movie, which probably doesn't hold up at all anymore. I'm guessing. Wrong Turn, of course, the first one, and in this remake now. The Marine with John Cena, which I never saw, but I heard that was pretty bad.
It was good. It was really good.
You liked it? Okay.
Yeah.
And then he did, I don't think he did any of the sequels. They just have him credited because he did the first one. And then, and this new remake. So I just thought, like, that's a crazy IMDb, like, all across the board. He did superhero stuff. He did an action movie. He did a Michael Myers movie. And now he did 2 Wrong Turn movies. Like, that's pretty impressive. Diverse. Yeah. I couldn't find anything on the director, unfortunately. I think he only did like one film or like a short film before this, but I thought the directing was good as well. Like,
me too.
It's part of the, hard part of doing movies like this is kind of like shooting it at night because you have to be able to see what's going on. But I think they kind of solve that problem pretty well towards like the middle and the end. And even when they get lost, like I think they do a good job of you're talking about the characters like getting lost and stuff like that. I thought it was accurate because that would happen with the like newer college kids is like you take away their phones, they're not going to know where to go. Like they were completely like hindered after that. So I thought that was definitely like accurate to what, and that it almost made that old guy right of what he was saying to them. Like, you guys have never, and I was thinking that the whole movie, I'm like, why did he, like, that has to mean something that he said that. Like, you guys have never worked a day in your life and blah, blah, blah. And like the main girl, she kind of sticks up for her friends. Like, this guy is a doctor, going to be a doctor. And this, and she like goes around, he has a realtor or something like.
Right. He did a couple of restaurants. This other one is about to start his own business and things like that.
And that comes back later on too. So I think he's smart with the screenplay because there's all these little seeds that he plants at the beginning. And if you pay attention, like I said, we watched with my roommates and we were kind of like, you can tell it's a good movie because it had our attention the whole time. Like, we weren't, if it's a bad movie, we're just talking through it and like, we don't care. You know what I mean? Like, we're just joking and laughing, but this one had our full attention. My roommate's girlfriend was scared. You could tell she was, and she normally doesn't watch movies with us. Honestly, she was like thinking about leaving, and she stayed because the movie had just, drawn her in so well. So I think, like I said, I think that speaks to the direction, the acting. If I like a nitpicking, like I said, the dialogue is cringy sometimes, and like, but other than that, I mean, I really like this one. I thought it was as good a remake you could probably make for a Wrong Turn movie, in my opinion.
I agree, to be honest with you. It glued me in as soon as we actually saw the little seeds being planted and things like that about how it would actually come back later on about the characters and the background of the characters. Because that's something that actually glued me into it, was the background of the characters, what they did before the hiking trip. You actually feel like you're on this journey with them. You actually feel like you're following them in the woods. Also, too, I definitely liked the whole entire setup, like you mentioned. And at first I was like, okay, I don't know if I'm going to be as glued in or anything like that because I've seen the very first one. But then as soon as they start introducing the characters, as soon as they start getting the build up for it, and also too, an hour and 52 minutes is perfect for a horror movie and and stuff like that. Runtime don't even feel like an hour. It feels like it's like 30 minutes and you just want to see more because you're that enticed into the film, which is something I appreciate. Also, too, I've been wanting to see the douchebag guy die since the very beginning of the film because he just got on my nerves.
So that one thing I did think, another like nitpick, I did think it could be cut down a little bit more. Like, my ideal runtime is like 90 minutes, especially for a horror movie. I feel like you just get in and out. You don't overstay your welcome. Like, I think they definitely could have cut like 5 to 10 minutes out of this, like just in the middle somewhere. You know, maybe some of the dad scenes they could have kind of condensed, maybe some of those scenes, because they're not really essential to the plot until the end. You know what I mean? So, and then the other thing I wanted to say, I
wanted to ask you something too.
Go ahead.
But it's going to be towards the end of it, because you remember how Vince Vaughn's character comes back towards the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And someone comes back towards the end of this movie. I want to get your initial thoughts on that and what you thought about that later on.
Okay.
So,
what was the other thing you mentioned? Sorry, I completely blanked on you. Were mentioning the runtime, and then what did you say after that?
The runtime, and then also
the characters. Something about the characters.
Yeah, the character development with the seeds that's been planted in there. I really thought that was really good.
The douchebag character. I remember now.
Yeah, the douchebag.
So the douchebag character, like I was like against him in that bar scene because like I said, he was being a douchebag. Like clearly, he did not have to go like that. And then I love that one scene where like they're leaving the bar and you just see that kind of like shadowy figure like in the distance, and the guy throws his bottle. Like first they kind of like berate him, and then he like throws the glass bottle at them, and I was like, oh, that guy's fucking dead. Like. You know what I mean? Like
that's
it's basically
the guy that's gonna get them killed
the most. Yeah, it's you know, it's the same thing in Freaky when as soon as you get to the IG influencer girl and she's, you know, talking shit to Millie, you're like, oh, she's dead. So yeah, I was on board for like against him, but then I'm not gonna lie, like when shit started going south, I was more on his side because they kind of have this debate about like, you know, and we can get into like spoilery stuff.
Yeah, we can.
I guess now. But okay, so one of their friends in that log scene, like you said, gets crushed. One of the gay guys, which I was like, they got to kill the gay guy first. Come on, that's kind of messed up. But
that was messed up, to be honest with you. I wasn't sure.
I'm like, they're progressive. I'm like, they're being kind of progressive with just having him in there. But then I'm like, and then they kill him first. But I guess that's what the freaky thing. If you're gay or black, you're gonna die first. So
right.
But yeah, so then he dies, and was he like Hispanic? I can't remember.
I think he was Hispanic.
Yeah, so the gay Hispanic dude dies. And then, you know, they all start freaking out. And, you know, there's kind of this debate going on about, like, you know, someone had to have sent that rolling down the hill. Like, and just come out of nowhere, like, you know.
Right.
And when they capture one of the guys, you know, he kills one of the captors in self-defense. In self-defense. He go a little overboard. Yes. Yeah. He goes kind of overboard, but you can't really speak to what you would do in that situation. You're being kidnapped by these guys in these creepy skull masks. I didn't blame him, honestly. I was like, yeah, fuck these guys. And the fact that they like, I think the main girl kind of was like giving him shit and being like, you killed that guy. What did you do? I'm like, bitch, what? I'm like, he did what he had to do. He was kidnapped, and like, yeah, it comes back later that maybe he made the wrong decision, but like in that moment, I was like not mad at him at all. I'm like, that's self-defense. If you get kidnapped, like it's even the stand your ground law. You know what I mean? Someone comes on your property, you don't know who they are, you can shoot them in some states, and legally you're inclined to do that. So that's how I took it, and I guess there's an argument to be made because you find out later that it is their land that the characters are walking on when they make the wrong turn, that the kidnapper like could have felt that way or whatever, but they were talking in this language where you couldn't understand.
No.
You know what I mean? So again, I didn't blame him for making that decision. But it does come back to bite him in the ass at the end. So like, so. But what did you think about that?
Okay, so this is my initial thoughts. I actually am in agreement with you as far as the douchebag goes, defending himself. Because number one, he was dragged in that hole with the thing wrapped around his ankle.
Yeah,
and then they're carrying up on a stake like a Bugs Bunny cartoon, getting ready to go and boil him.
Right? Yeah. There's two guys. They're carrying him like that, like they're about to roast him. And I was like, man, he had every right to do
And
that.
then on top of that, he thinks his they did something to his girlfriend too because she's missing.
That's right. Yeah.
And he also promised her too that he would never leave her. So all that is wrapped up.
And
combined.
they can't call for help. Their phones have been taken away. Yep. They can't call 911. That's not an option. Like,
right.
It felt reasonable. It felt reasonable, like what you would do in that situation. At least for me.
Me too. I would have actually done the same thing. Now, what I kept on once I saw the guy was down, and I was kneeling on his head, I would actually just stop right there. So I didn't went the extra mile.
Even like incapacitating him might have worked, but I don't like in horror movies. I have a lot of leeway with that because you never know when you're pushed to that brink. You never know what you would do, and it's like so. That's why like people try and say like in the Halloween movies or whatever, like in the first one, how she like drops the butcher knife a bunch of times, and like people get mad about that. But I'm like, you know, she's not a killer. Laurie's not a killer. Right. She's a teenager babysitting. You know, like she defends herself and then she drops the knife, and it's like, yeah, that's totally that checks out to me. A babysitter is not a cold stone killer. She just did it to defend herself. How was she supposed to know Michael Myers was going to come back and like, you know, he's the boogeyman? She didn't know.
Exactly.
So I don't find that as a flaw. I know some people like to say that, but no, I don't think it's a flaw at all. That's just, you don't know what you would do in that situation. You don't know.
Exactly, because Laurie, like I said before, this goes back to Freaky. Teenagers don't think rationally or anything like that either. Mm-hmm. Laurie thinks that the perp is down for the count. Michael's not going to get back up. He's dead. She's trying to defend herself and also help protect the kids that she's babysitting. Yeah. So she automatically thinks, okay, I can let my guard down. He's dead. I got to get these kids out of the house. That's her next MO. MO. And then all of a sudden, Michael comes back, and she's got to go back to defending herself again.
Exactly. So it's all self-defense. All her stuff is in self-defense. She's not a killer, so it makes sense that she wouldn't keep the butcher knife the whole time. She wouldn't do that. She's only acting in self-defense. That's what makes her the final girl.
Right.
And we do have a final girl in this one. What did you think about you know, the main, what is her name? I have it right here in front of me. Jen?
Yeah. Jen was the main character.
Yeah. Jen Shaw. What did you think about her as a final girl? Because I have thoughts about that.
To be honest with you, I liked how she started off as a weak character. Even though she's kind of strong, but at the same time, she's also shows some type of weakness and stuff like that. But then once you start getting into her story arc, where she has to try and negotiate these characters from killing them and everything, yes, she's panicking, but at the same time, she's trying to find some type of rationality to help them out in this situation. So then, of course, I feel like her story arc was really good because of the fact that, you know, when her father winds up coming down near there and everything else, and she tries to act like he doesn't exist to her or anything like that, I thought that played out very well.
Yeah. And we should probably set up now, like what, you know, the whole crux of the movie. So basically you find out that instead of like, you know, crazy redneck people that are just like deformed redneck people that are killing, like the whole Wrong Turn series has been up to this point. They're basically like a village of Viking people that have been there for like hundreds of years. You know what I mean? Since the beginning of American history. And basically, I disagree that Jen starts off weak. I actually think she starts off pretty strong because when they're arguing with that old guy in the bar, she's the one that sticks up for everybody, you know what I mean, and kind of like defends them, which I kind of liked because then that just kind of made her like a natural leader, in my opinion. And so then when they get captured and shit starts to go down, and basically they're literally put on a trial in this village, she's still trying to defend them, but at the same time, you know, they kind of have to pay for their actions. But the way that she kind of assimilated, it was interesting because it kind of went into like a deeper debate that I was expecting about, like, you know, she's a pacifist, she's like nonviolent, she doesn't believe in violence, but this village does believe in violence, and they'd have a court system, but there's punishment by death in this village. You know what I mean? It's kind of barbaric to our standards, but at the same time, when they put one of the guys on trial, they're like, you killed one of our villagers. and the price for a murder is murder, basically, like an eye for an eye. So it's like, yeah, it's interesting because I guess it's commenting on, other, foreign countries and stuff like that. We can view them as behind on the times or barbaric, in their thinking and their way of life. They can easily think of us in that same way. And so I like that they did that kind of culture clash. And for like a while there, Jen and her boyfriend kind of have to blend in with that society, which I wasn't expecting, but it was crazy, man. It was kind of reminded me of like The Village, M. Night Shyamalan's Village. Where,
it did have that flavor to it.
Where because it is a village of people that are living, I guess kind of spoilers for that movie too, but if have you seen that by now? But it's a village of people that are carrying out their ways in modern time. And so that's exactly what this was. And so, I like that they had a personality. The village did. It wasn't just like, crazy rednecks, which worked in the first one for me. I like the first Wrong Turn movie, but the fact they made it kind of this deeper village in their own ways. And the guy who plays the king, the actor, I thought he did a great job because he was like, I bought him as a Viking. That guy was huge. He looked like a Viking. He was, as soon as he entered the scene, you knew this guy's in charge. And, immediately he's like, he kind of tries to make Jen his queen. And I was like, oh God, like my mind immediately just went to like the worst places. Like, is she going to be like his sex slave? And like,
right.
I
automatically thought of Game of Thrones for some reason whenever I saw that.
Yeah. Kind of when, what's the Stark, she gets like raped after the arranged marriage. That's exactly what I was expecting too. I was expecting the worst, which thankfully none of that is like seen, like there's nothing like that, but that's tough for even me to watch, even though I like horror movies and stuff, like rape scenes and stuff like that. Same. I just it's tough for me. Sometimes that's probably one of the lines that I just can't do it.
Same.
I liked in The Village, they have this thing too where, so as we said, punishment by death is one thing they have in this society. Another thing they have is you can live in this kind of dark room. Yeah, the darkness, and they burn your eyes out. They with a hot poker, they burn your eyes out, and so you're blind and you're walking in this dark room, kind of like a blind zombie. That shit was creepy as hell, man. That was creepy as hell.
You don't expect, once you actually see how many people are actually down there with the other partner,
right?
You realize, oh shit, there's been more people that we've seen. Don't get me wrong, we've seen the cell phones, we've seen the clothes and stuff like that inside that little shack when they come across it. Mm-hmm. But once you get into the whole entire realization, okay, there's a lot more people down here than what we actually thought. And it's the zombie-like feeling and everything too, this horrified feeling that these people are down there. And then she sees her one of her friends down there, and he's just miserable.
That was the other gay dude. Dude, the gay guys got it the worst in here. That's what I was saying. I was like, this movie's bogus. At least one of them could have got like lighter, like a quick and easy death. They got the worst deaths, in my opinion. They got one got squished, and the other guy got blinded and for eternity.
Right.
So yeah, that creeped me out, man. as Tara, that was my reaction. That was my reaction. Right. I was Kevin McAllister in Home Alone.
Same.
With my eyes too. Like, no. What else? I'm trying to figure out.
Kim said he found a copy at Best Buy.
Actually, that's one of the first places I looked, and my Best Buy has been just condensing their physical media section. It's pretty sad, and they're down to like one aisle of Blu-ray stuff, and the new releases. I went this last week. They had like one new release. They used to be like a bunch of new release stuff. They had the one I was looking for. I was looking for Promising Young Woman, and I bought that one. But I'm like, I know that wasn't the only new release that came out this week, so Same thing with Wrong Turn. I came there when it was the week it came out and didn't have it. They didn't have it. So I think unless you're like a major studio release, I don't see.
I want more movies.
Oh, me too, man. I got shelves on shelves that more than Best Buy. Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, the darkness thing was definitely something that I found fascinating with how they basically you killed them by blinding them and everything because there's more.
Well, it wasn't killing them though. It was basically like purgatory.
Right,
it was like
right,
it's a life of you're just a zombie of feeling around and I was like, do they feed them? I'm like, how do they eat? And I guess they kind of just like throw slop in there. It was so disgusting. It was so my God. That's a nightmare. That's nightmare fuel right there.
It definitely was. Also too, I really felt bad for Jen because now she's also with that with the guy now. She's basically the queen. Then you also have her boyfriend. And get this, the boyfriend didn't even want to be a part of that. He just wanted to go ahead, get his eyes darkened, and go inside the dark hole and be done with it. But he's like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "What? You're good with your hands. You can tell them what to do, what to build." And they're like, "Well, we have people for that." And then every single thing that she was describing, they had people for. And then finally, she said, "Well, he'll be a good leader for your people and everything that can help with the building and things like that." And then that's whenever his life actually gets spared. And next thing you know, that's when we break into her father and stuff like that coming up on the hill, on the mountain. But what I have to say about this, though, was the fact you realize what she's giving up. She's giving up her body to this guy that she don't even know.
It's a survival tactic, though. You know what I mean? It's like I said, you don't know what you would do when you're pushed to your limits, and so I like how I said at the beginning like how she stuck up for her friends at the beginning. I dug that because it was like it told me she cares about her friends, and then like kind of similarly when they're about to be put to death or in the darkness, I should say rather, she sticks up for them again, and she's like, we can be useful to you, and we can blend in with your society and your rules and whatever, and convinces them kind of that was a viable option, and they kind of go along with it. I wouldn't say the boyfriend wants to go in the darkness. I don't think anyone wants that. That's like, that's a worst case scenario. But yeah, he was kind of freaking out about what she was saying. But ultimately, it did work out better for them in the end. And then it's kind of it kind of does a lot of tone switching. But I thought all of it worked, like, because you're kind of in a traditional horror movie in the woods, Lost in the Woods horror movie. For like the first, third of it, and then in the middle, you're kind of in this, village. They're explaining to you what the village is all about and the history of all that. And then in the last third, you get the dad going and looking for his daughter and trying to basically save her. And and that was pretty cool because then you get the old guy at the bar kind of helping him out. Well, you realize that she helped him out in the beginning with, like the advice she gives, like medical advice, basically she gives him, and him and his son take the dad, right? Or whatever. Or, no, it was another guy. He takes him to this other guy and his son, and they're going to take him out in the woods and be like, cause they're experts at hunting and stuff. Yeah. They're guide. And, I thought they were pretty weak. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. I was expecting a lot more. I mean, he provided the dad with some supplies and stuff like that, but ultimately the dad was like the main badass character of all of them. You know what I mean? They did not put up much of a fight at all. That was kind of anticlimactic for me. What did you think of that?
To be honest with you, I'm on that same level as you because I'm like, okay, you got these hunters helping him out, and then.
Because they're supposed to be the experts. They're supposed to be the best of the best. So.
Right. And it's like, nah, you're not even close to being the best of the best because, okay, you showed us, I can trip this trap here. Look at this trap here. If you walk across it, you'll wind up dying. And then, then they went on ahead. The son falls into a hole. And then the father's trying to go on ahead and try and pull him out. And then there's another trap.
Double trap. That was crazy.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, you're supposed to know that there's more than one trap along this mountain. You've been in this predicament before
It
because
just
remember he had that
yeah.
scar to remind him, and he was supposed to be this John Rambo of survival.
They should have went out like They should have had a Rambo like standoff. Which that's what I was expecting. Like, you know, and they kind of pulled the rug under me there. Not yeah, that was kind of disappointing. But the action, and then like I said, it kind of turned into like an action revenge action film with the dad trying to save the daughter, and I dug that too because I thought like I said, the gore was on point. You get to see like some bow and arrow action. The daughter is kind of like a pro now at archery. You know, they have a gun. The dad has a gun, and yeah, they're just they're trying to fight, and like the villagers were pretty strong too. Like there's a reason that the whole town is like scared of them. You know what I mean? It won't go in that side of the mountain. So I feel like they did put up like a good fight, the villagers, and it was like realistic about how, you know, the dad and the daughter too were like holding them off. Because yeah, the daughter's like a beast now, which makes sense because she's been training with them. So
definitely, because also too, I also liked how she's playing it off because at first I'm like, okay, is she really brainwashed into this whole entire thing, or is she a little piece of her that is still there? And then also too,
same thing with the boyfriend. You don't know. Yeah, you don't know
because a lot happened between 6 weeks before and 6 weeks now, and in the course of 6 weeks, she became a badass with the bow. She's with this the king and everything. And she's also saying that she doesn't remember her father or anything. It's just pretty much you're thinking that she's brainwashed, basically.
No, yeah, it's like you said in Game of Thrones, they kind of play the same thing where it's like, is Sansa, you know, is she gonna go with her family, the Starks, or is she kind of brainwashed with when she fell in love with Joffrey? You know what I mean? Like, is she gonna protect her marriage or go with her family? So I think they kind of play that dynamic well in this one. And yeah, I don't want to give away the very last scene, like you said, because it is so awesome. I will just say that there's like a part in the last. I love the last scene in general. Like that left me. I love when a movie like leaves me like like just kind of on a high, basically, from watching it, of the experience of watching it. And this one definitely did that. I was like, just, you know, fist pumping in the air, like, fuck yes. But there's one part in particular where they kind of try and pull the rug out from under you in the middle of it. It's kind of you know what I mean? Like, and I was like, if they're going to end it here, I'm kind of mad. You know, I'm not, I don't dig this ending. But then they follow through with like what I wanted in the ending. And so then I was happy. So yeah, I love how it ended. It's not something that you would like. I mean, I did expect it, but like, even so, like I said, there's a bunch of twists and turns that you might not necessarily expect going into it. And it pays off. The payoff is just tremendous. Yeah, it's a really good ending. What did you think about that, the ending of it?
I thought the ending was really good, to be honest with you. At first, I'm like, okay, I did not like this ending. I did not like the way they're going with it and that direction. And there's a complete misdirection on the way they did it, which is something that really pleases me on the way they handled it. And then, you know, let's just say, you know, it was just a great ending on the way they did it versus how they did it with the Vince Vaughn movie, you know, where we were talking about that ending.
Like I was comparing, like, speaking of Promising Young Woman earlier, that ending. Have you seen that movie yet or no?
I haven't seen it.
Okay, that ending is similar feeling of just like, you know, you think it's going one way, and then it you know the real ending is like so satisfying. So yeah, that one I highly recommend that one. That's one of my favorite movies from last year. But yeah, it's tough. I feel like even like a lot of good movies suffer in the endings. You know what I mean? Like they just can't pull it off in a pleasing way or a satisfying way necessarily sometimes. I mean, like I love Stephen King. It's one of my favorite authors, probably my favorite author of all time.
Mine too.
he sucks at endings. Like I have to admit, he puts in like just the first three, you know, if it's just like a basketball game, the first 3 quarters, the guy's lights out. You know what I mean? He's got a triple double, and then in the fourth quarter, just 0 points. Like he just I don't understand why he can't land the ending. Like so. Yeah, even the best struggle with the endings is what I'm trying to say. But like this one, I definitely feel like they pulled it off in a very satisfying way. And honestly, like it's only March, but like this is one of my favorite movies this year. Just, you know, especially from like Redbox. Redbox is always like you're taking a chance, I feel like, of what you rent depending on, you know, how familiar you are with it. But there you go.
Right.
If I do see it, I will buy it. I didn't have time to check out the features when I got it from Redbox last time, which I was pretty mad about. But
I watched the deleted scenes, to be honest with you.
Scenes. Okay.
And to be honest with you, I'm glad they got rid of it.
Okay. Yeah. Usually when I watch deleted scenes, there's a reason they're deleted. Honestly, like they're usually cool to just see like what didn't make it. But yeah, I usually agree. Like, yeah, this didn't need to be in the movie. And like I said, I feel like they could have even cut down the running time a little bit. I mean, it's not Snyder cut 4 hours long.
I can't watch a 4 hour long.
Have you seen that one yet or no?
Oh yeah, we did a spoiler review on the channel and everything. I loved it. I loved every single minute of it. But yeah, I also did. By the way, that's actually on the audio version and also on the YouTube channel as well for people to check out.
Yeah, I did a review of it yesterday too on my buddy's YouTube, Anorex, and yeah, that was it got pretty heated. You know what I mean? We get very passionate when we talk like movie stuff. So yeah, I definitely recommend that. I don't think it's uploaded yet though, so you might have to wait a while. But yeah, we recorded it last night. It was fun.
There was something else I want to mention though too. Have you ever saw a movie called Midsummer?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me if you didn't think that it had kind of the same vibe with Midsummer versus, I know it's kids that are in this foreign land, but at the same time, with Wrong Turn, you actually have these kids going camping, hiking in a place that they don't know. They're in this land where these Viking like people are at. And they're doing stuff that pisses them off, pisses the Vikings off. For instance, in Midsummer, you have a kid that's pissing on a log that happens to be an ancestor to those people. And he didn't even have a clue. In this one, you actually have the guy in his right reason to smash the guy's head open and everything and bash his head. But, you know, and then it came back to bite them in the ass. And that's also the same thing that happened with Midsummer. Was there's repercussions and punishments done because of what they believe in. And that's what I got from both sides between Midsummer and this one.
No, that's a good comp. I actually said that when we were watching the movie because, like I said, I knew it was different. I didn't know how it was different. My friend just like on stereo, Pedro, he just like warned me like, hey, just like, because I asked him about it. And he's like, it's good, but it's different than the other one. That's all I knew. So once it got kind of revealed, and you saw how the town worked, the Vikings, and like their rules and stuff like that, I was like, oh, so like Midsommar, and which I was cool with because I really like that one. I really dig it too, and yeah, I think it is like comparable because it's just college kids in a society where they don't know anything. I mean, in Midsommar, I guess they're studying it, so it's kind of different in that way. And like they go there on purpose, but they don't know just how extreme they are in that one. In this one, it's Wrong Turn. So I mean, you need to live up to the title. So they take the wrong turn and end up there. And I mean, I would be like happy if they just like made this like a series, because in the original, the Halloween movies were supposed to be different stories, right? That's why Halloween 3 has Michael Myers is not in it. I actually like mythology, right? I actually really dig that one too. So like I was like on board if they wanted to try and do that, but the studios just want Michael Myers because money. So right. But if they did a Wrong Turn, like they did like an anthology like that where it was like different stories, like of just people taking wrong turns, or kind of like a Black Mirror thing where it's like similar themes but different stories like that, I'd be happy with that.
Me too. Matter of fact, yeah, I think so too. It can work. We've seen it work in Friday the 13th, the TV series, where they have different antiques.
And I haven't actually watched that. Is that good?
It's okay. I'm gonna be honest with you. I remember as a kid watching it in the 90s and loving it. And it's very cheesy now, but if you think about it, it kind of reminds you in a sense of The Conjuring, where each artifact, each antique symbolizes an episode that they went through, and they actually collect that item, and they, after that episode is done, they put it away in the case.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like I'm split on some of the Conjuring stuff. I like half of the movies pretty much, but
I just like the first two films. That's it.
I like the Annabelle 2 and 3. I thought were pretty good too, but all the other one, I didn't like The Nun. I didn't like the first Annabelle. But yeah, that's a good one.
Have you seen the other 6? Which one is your favorite?
So yeah, we were kind of talking about it earlier. Thanks for the question, by the way. But yeah, I prefer the first one. I didn't get a chance to revisit it, but like I caught probably the first 20 minutes just revisiting it for this discussion, and I was getting sucked into it. I was like, the only reason I didn't finish it was because I was hungry and tired and wanted to make sure I rested up before this. But yeah, I'm gonna, after we finish this, I'm gonna finish it because I was just I think it's a solid cast of actors in that first one, like that you will probably recognize if you were like watching movies in the early 2000s. But it's similar to like Joyride. It kind of gives me that same, where kind of college age kids and they get in this crazy situation type thing, and it's 2000s horror like that. But Wrong Turn is definitely a lot gorier, and so yeah, I'd recommend the first one. Outside of that, like the sequel, the second one is watchable. I still don't think it's that great, and then after that, I really don't even remember. They all blend together. They're just the same, and they're not great. Like, but yeah, if you've seen like The Hills of Eyes, it's kind of similar with that. And so yeah, the original Hills of Eyes is good. The remake is good as well of Hills of Eyes. So that's like another kind of comparison there. But yeah, what do you think?
Let's see here. I only like the very first Wrong Turn movie, to be honest with you.
Yeah, me too.
That's it. I don't really feel like that there needed to be 6 films for The Wrong Turn.
Definitely not.
If you're gonna reboot it, just reboot the first film, and that's it. In which they did. Here's the thing. I love the original Hills Have Eyes. I also love the unrated version for the Hills Have Eyes remake. I thought it was really good. Of course, I'm always gonna love, Wes Craven no matter what, because that's the original person who made The Hills Have Eyes.
The Hills of Eyes sequel though, Wes Craven one, is pretty terrible. Like that. I just watched that recently, and like I went into it knowing it has a bad reputation, but that one's really, really tough. Rough. So I wouldn't recommend that one, but the first Hills of Eyes and the remake to it, definitely I'd recommend those two.
Wrong Turn 2 is my favorite. Love Joe Lynch as the director.
Yeah, it has a lot of fans, and like I'm not gonna lie, I haven't seen it since it came out, and before like Joe Lynch was a household name now. So when it came out, like I said, it's watchable. I watched it probably on like TV or Sci-Fi or something like that, and I was like, it's decent for a sequel, like, and they took some interesting directions with it. It was definitely a lot funnier and self-aware, which that's Joe Lynch's style. So I'd be interested to like revisit that and see if my opinion has changed. But I still think I don't know, just from my memory, the first one was my favorite growing up.
Mine too. I can agree with you on that as well. Let's see. Tim also writes, speaking of Wes Craven, why has Red Eye not been released on Blu-ray?
There's a lot of those where there's different reasons for a lot of these unreleased Blu-rays. I mean, I'm always happy to see like some obscure title that's released to Blu-ray. Even if I don't like it, I like to see physical media thriving.
That's one thing I miss is physical media. So.
Yeah, me too. I will say, like, probably one of my biggest ones that's not on Blu-ray yet is James Cameron's The Abyss. That's one that fans have been clamoring for like years. Like, why is this not on Blu-ray? It's James fucking Cameron. He's one of our best directors. Why is his? I think True Lies too took forever to come on Blu-ray, but I think it's finally on Blu-ray. Or maybe that one's not even on Blu-ray either. Yeah, I think that both of those might not even be on Blu-ray. It's crazy.
No.
Why are these movies not on Blu-ray? You know what I mean?
Right, because we have it on digital. We have True Lies on digital over there on Amazon and everything else. So what's the difference between that and this? I understand, but digital media is a whole lot easier to get to, but physical media is always going to be my favorite. I love holding the box in my hand, unopening the box, and just inserting a disc or a VHS tape for that.
Okay, instance. So I guess I just looked up right now. True Lies just came out last year on Blu-ray. Well, actually, it's not even American.
Oh,
see, it might not even be here in America yet. Yeah. So yeah, they need to step it up with those, because those are just two of mine that I'm like, I'd love to have those. Like I said, it's James Cameron. I'm a huge fan. I have all his other movies on Blu-ray. Like, why am I not getting True Lies and The Abyss? Those are some good ones.
Exactly. So with that being said, that's gonna be it for the show and everything. Thank you again, Cisco, for coming and joining me.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome anytime. You're always welcome on the show. I always enjoy conversing with you with horror films and stuff like that. Where can everybody reach you at?
Yeah, so it's going to be misfit_minded on Twitter, Instagram, pretty much all social media, and stereo. And speaking of stereo, I do a show every Saturday called Saturday Matinee with my co-host Edwin, where we, pit two movies together with a common theme or thread. And this week's episode for Saturday is Dementia. So we're watching two 2020 releases that deal with that. Dick Johnson is Dead, which is a really cool documentary, which you can watch on Netflix, actually. Highly recommend that one. It's really dark comedy about this daughter, this filmmaker, making this movie about her dad, losing his memory, basically. But yeah, like I said, it's dark. It's a dark comedy though, so it's really fun, weird tone they reach there. And then The Father, which is nominated for a bunch of Oscars, and Anthony Hopkins is in that. And I still haven't seen that one yet. I'm watching it this week, but I think that should be an interesting episode. So that'll be this Saturday at 2 p.m. Central.
Okay. And everybody, you guys can actually catch me tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific Time on stereo. Rossi and I are going to be doing our review of White Boy Rick. So go ahead, sign up for our stereo, and follow me at Movie Lovers Unit over there. Also, too, guys, I understand the pandemic actually put some holes in people's pockets and everything, but if you want to show us some love, how do you do that? You just go to www.gofundme.com/Movie Lovers Unite. Donate $5 to $10 just to say thank you for everything that we do. Or if you don't have the money or whatever, we totally understand. That's okay too. But we love and the support anyways. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Also too, you guys can follow me at Movie Lovers TV Lovers Unite on Facebook, underneath the same name on Instagram, and then also too on Pinterest as well. And then, of course, for all your entertainment needs and wants, just go to www.movieloversunite.com for all your entertainment needs and wants. And then, of course, you can follow me on Movie Lovers Unit on Twitter. And also, too, you can follow me at John DiGregorio8 on Twitter. And always, until next time, guys, it's been fun. It's been real. Can't wait to do this again. And bye-bye.